Welcome to another episode of my Motortown playthrough. Today we are here to talk a bit about different odd jobs around the place, giving you guys a few updates, particularly on my headquarters here today, which I've really not shown you guys in its final form yet. I know in one of the recent episodes we brought a lot of stuff over here, but I didn't want to spend the entire episode just putting everything into place, and it was actually quite the finicky process. So I think it's time to give you guys the update on that, but also a few other things around the place, because in the end, the last two episodes, they have been very focused on a singular task, and that didn't really allow me to put anything else in there. So yeah, it's gonna be a catch-up episode on all of the small things, starting with the rearrangement of my furniture in here. So, I had this idea about the dividing walls and my bed being behind that in order to sleep on this property. The thing is, in the last few episodes, this was still all in this corner, and it felt a bit oppressive coming in here. It just was a bit too close to the door, and it didn't really feel nice. It just really restricted the entire room a bit. So I think just coming in here, having all of that stuff to the back, it opens up the room a bit more and makes it a bit more welcoming. So I'm quite happy with what I have here. Also, incidentally, it gives me a little window above my bed, so that's quite nice. Only thing in here that I would still like to have is maybe a few more lamps. It's getting pretty dark in here at night. Still not much of a problem since this is not Minecraft or anything like that. Nothing can spawn here at night that blows up the entire thing. So we are pretty much good here, but I would still like to have maybe a few more lamp fixtures. Sadly, I think the only ceiling lamps that we have here are chandeliers, and I don't see that working with the rest of the building. But maybe I'll get a few more standing lamps or something like that. I also recently got told on Discord that the plots in this game can have up to 50 props each. And that also includes any building that you put down, any parking lot or something like that. So if I counted correctly, we are currently at exactly 30, leaving us another 20 to do something with. And if you guys have any ideas on what to do with this, please let me know. I don't really know. I could maybe add a few fences here or something like that, maybe a lounge area in the garage, because I don't really know what to do with this building. It was more about the process of putting this in and showing you guys how that all works out than really doing anything with it, but there are definitely things that could be done here. So if you have any good ideas, let me know. I will definitely consider them. And yeah, when it comes to the company name, I want to have something that's a mix between my own name, or at least the channel name, and shortening it down to just Kira, but also mixing it with the word infra, because in the end, in Motortown, what we are really building up here is an infrastructure company, service provider, that kind of thing. So I thought that would be quite fitting. I'm not entirely sure about the name when you put it all together into Skinfra. It sounds a bit weird. So while I think that's not the worst thing, it's also not amazing. So still workshopping this one. But yeah, I thought it would be a good idea just keeping my name in here as a baseline, and then have the additional two letters VN and VF just dropping in, just falling into place, so to speak. So it's not awful, but I'm not entirely sure about the entire thing here. Anyways, let's go inside, and the only permanent fixture right here is of course the parking lot, which is one of the other few things that makes this thing really useful. But I want to also give you guys an update on just my attempts at making a custom subclass for event races. So I went with the idea of it either being a GT class, a touring car class, or maybe just a single vehicle cup, something like the real life Lupo Cup or Yaris Club. So something with compact cars. I think it's gonna be just the compact cars single make cup, and we are gonna be sticking with that. But I wanted to try something regarding GT GT cars, GT cars classes or something like that. That didn't really pan out. I don't think the game right now has really the vehicles to make that work. The other one in that style here would be the Nissan Skyline lookalike. But in the end, I think the one that I could do the most with would be more like a touring car class. So something that maybe has a few compact cars, a few sedans or coupes, something like that. As long as the time period lines up with all the cars, it's kind of something that should be able to be made working rather easily. At least so I thought. In practice, it looks a bit different because while these cars look like they could race together from the time period and their overall stylings, apart from this, of course, being one of early and, in my opinion, rather poorly asset pack cars. I think overall something like this could still be a decent mixing here, but in the end they aren't really compatible in terms of how they perform. Both of them have the same engine in there, so that's 240 horsepower V8 to start out with, plus a turbocharger, which brings it up to around 293 horsepower. So that's still within range for what I had in mind. And especially the Stella is handling amazingly well. This thing is incredibly stable, of course, front wheel driven. I think you could just put in a V12 400 horsepower engine, bringing it up to 500 horsepower once you're at the turbo as well. And this one would just be able to handle it. It gets a bit spicy once you get to a larger V8, but overall, this is still very tame, very controllable, and something that I was kind of hoping for. However, when we get to the Cora, first up, the 240 horsepower V8 is the base engine for this car. It only got a turbocharger upgrade, the different intake to fine balance the performance a bit more, but in the end, the engine is basically stock apart from all of that. And despite having wheel spacers now, despite having better tires, the entire body kit and all, this thing is handling pretty spicy. Not anywhere near as bad as the stock car that I'd driven in the last event. I think it's about half as eager to spin out as that one. So it is actually quite a fun balance overall. But if you have a car which is basically pointed the right way, press the accelerator, you're gonna get where you want to be. And this one, which is far more delicate than this one, and by the way, but just even if you have a clean lap with both of these, I think this one will just win out by terms of being a bit lighter anyways. It would be very hard to balance them right now as it is. So while I'm gonna be keeping both of them and likely also gonna be restyling this one because I don't really like the paint job too much. It was an attempt, but with the attempt I would say it didn't really succeed all that well. Yeah, I'll be keeping both of these around, but I think it would be more fun keeping it to one make races with this one here. And then maybe later down the line have another one make race that just takes the Cora and uses that. I hope that in the future we'll just get a few more updates to the game that maybe increase the tire grip a bit more right now, and I'm not alone with that opinion. Tire grip in this game is a bit too low across the board, and I'm hoping that any handling upgrades would definitely benefit the cars that are a bit harder to control right now. This one is already perfectly fine, so I don't see how that would really be improving in any significant way any further. And besides all of that, we of course also have the aerodynamics upgrade future update to look forward to, which again I think would also benefit especially the faster cars and the ones that are easier to lose control of. So that could bring those two a bit closer together. Other options would be maybe downgrading the engines. So going with a slower engine than the stock one for this one. I could see that work. It would definitely make this one much more stable, but in the end, when I tried it with the 180 horsepower V8, it wasn't exactly amazing. It was a lot more stable, but it also felt a bit boring at that point. So I'm not entirely sure about that. Maybe once we get a few more engines, I might also be able to fine-tune this one a bit further. So maybe if we get V6s, that would be the engine for this one. This one with a few more handling updates to the game, we could also keep the V8 in there. But yeah, right now my idea is to maybe make a Stellar Cup just using this car, maybe then afterwards Cora Cup, and then bringing it back to this one for an off-road race. I think it would also be amazingly fun. But in the end, when it comes to the on-road races, I would like to not have big surfaces. But then again, that really depends on the kind of tracks that I'm able to pick out. But yeah, this is my update on those two here. I know I've talked about them in the past quite a bit, and I've only gotten those semi-recently. But these are both a lot of fun, and I hope we're gonna see them a bit more in the future. Now on to the next car, or the next truck really. I didn't really plan on getting this one for the longest time. I'm a bit iffy on the mid-sized cargo transportation vehicles because of all the cargo scaling, but in the end, what convinced me to get this one is more personal uses. You know that in one of the recent episodes I bought this property down here in Gepha. I have now put a few buildings up there, but I still need furniture and I would rather use a rigid truck to deliver that furniture. So this one is really mostly for that purpose right now, but I could also see it being useful for a few other jobs. I'm not entirely sure about which ones. I think if I'm really going down the furniture production line, maybe this could help with some of the smaller items, but for the larger ones I would definitely want to have a semi-truck and trailer. But I don't want to do semi-trucking just for delivering my interior for the different buildings, and it wouldn't have worked out for me. I would rather get this truck for that, and that's what I did. So much about this one. Talking about other properties, I also bought this one down here. Currently, that's the most south that you can get with any of the properties. So this is the closest one to the refinery. And despite me having said that, I'm kind of gotten bored of this road for a bit, and I still stand by that. I'm not opposed to driving it. It's not that bad, but I'm certainly hoping to get another option in the near future. Anyways, if I want to make money with the refinery, this one is really a good one to have just to be able to go down there real quick. My plans right now, are twofold. Either I buy about every single of the different sandstone buildings and try to put as many of those onto that property as I can. I think it would be a bit of a waste because in the end, there's only so much you can do with interior, and there's no renting method for apartments or something like that. But I think with this one being more in a deserty area with a lake behind it, being more like an oasis or something cool could be done here. And while I enjoy the sandstone building or desert houses, whatever they are called, I don't feel like they really fit too well into any existing neighborhood. So while I would maybe get a property that's a bit out of town and put down one of the sandstone buildings over there. Having it right next to one of the other buildings, which are more North American style wood houses, wouldn't really look amazing in my opinion, so I don't really want to go down that route. But yeah, for something a bit more remote like this one, I could see that happening. The other idea I have is I'm still holding out hope for potentially there being another update where we can get a few more completely different things, like more of a business side to the properties. And for that, I wouldn't want to completely occupy this space. I don't expect this one to be a cul-de-sac for the entire duration of this game. I expect there to be a continuation of this road eventually. So completely filling this plot up with buildings that I don't even have a use for might not be the best idea. So I might build maybe a smaller residential house for myself that is a bit more than my office here, but nothing too crazy big, in hopes that maybe I could do something more useful in the future. If I build on this prop, if I put in the time to figure out an interior and stuff like that, I'm definitely gonna be reluctant to tear it all back down. So that's something that I want to keep in mind. I don't want to at some point have regrets about this and just undo all of my work. So that's the kind of consideration that I have here. Right now, the only thing on this one, and also at least one of the other properties that I have, is just a large parking lot to spawn in any vehicle that I can use. I also want to get one of those buildings here in a short time frame, pretty much to get to the drilling site sooner. So if I really just want to go here and get some supplies for the refinery, and by that I mean the crude oil, this would be an amazing property to have, and I think I'm gonna get it for that reason soon enough. And it's likely gonna be not built on apart from another parking lot, just to make this usable, but anything else maybe in the distant future at some point. Another thing that I bought recently, which is likely gonna be another residential building, is this one right here. This thing cost me 300k. That was quite a lot, and I'll be talking a bit about how I got that money to begin with in a moment. But yeah, this is a very small plot, but very good to have if you just want to go to Jeju. Close to about everything that you need. The bus terminal, the tuning shop, gas station, also the harbor. So pretty central, pretty good. I was considering to maybe just get this one instead for 50k, but in the end, I think in the long run this is gonna pay up by just being much more convenient. And also right now no building up here, but since it is not entirely in the middle of town, I could also see myself putting down one of the sandstone buildings over here. Let's now talk about how I even got all of that money to begin with. And the answer is basically after the last episode where I did the whole bus driving test on how much money it makes. I just noticed how much I was missing bus driving in this game, and I just continued. Played on for a few more hours, got up to 600k, which is the most amount of money that I ever had in this game. And let me tell you guys, even at this point, with me being level 719, money comes in, money goes out. In a lot of other games, after this amount of playtime, I would likely be rich and just swimming in money with no real ways to spend it. In this game, not that much. There's so much to buy, so much to upgrade, so much to do, and I'm happy about it. So yeah, that's gonna keep on being something that we do, just making money, spending it, and just keeping on with that entire thing for quite a while. I don't see that changing in the foreseeable future, especially if we finally get the next update and a few more things that I expect to happen from that. To that end, I can also tell you guys, I just mentioned it about the road down here. with all the stuff happening up here and there even being another road that is not on the map yet, that just comes up and off here and then just goes up to the north a bit. It doesn't seem like the next update will see a continuation of that road, at least not continuing back to connect to this point here or anything like that, which would actually give us an alternative to go down to the refinery. But there will be different other things. I don't want to spoil it too much. And from what I've seen, the focus may just be more on stuff in this area. I've recently seen quite the interesting screenshot of part of the map from one of the guys that's apparently on the testing branch. And that's not the one that I'm on right now. There is the main branch, the beta branch, which I'm on right now, so I get the updates a bit early. But then there's also the invite-only testing branch, and despite me having applied a while ago, I guess they have enough people, and therefore, yeah, I didn't get either denied or accepted yet. So no idea how that's going, but yeah, it seems like stuff will be over here. And it looked quite cool. Then I have to see how it all turns out in practice, but yeah, I hope we don't have to wait too much longer for that. So, yeah, I think that's most of the stuff that I've done. Done a few other things like bit more tow trucking. I actually have another truck and trailer here with one of recovery or rescue request vehicles. I was trying to get a few more vehicles that go down into this area, but it turned out that everything else around here, maybe this one would work out, but most of the other ones needed to go to Jeju, so this didn't pay out yet. Maybe I can do something with this one here. This might go to Gangyang instead of Jeju. I don't know. Otherwise, it's either gonna stay there until it's filled up or despawned at some point. Okay, another huge topic to go through is my bus setup. I talked about it a lot in the last episode to explain what was really going on with that. I've completely revamped everything after that episode. I had a few ideas that I talked about during that, so let's get into the results rather quickly. So first up, even Gangyang and Jeju bus lines have been revamped to include a bit more of the surrounding area. Not entirely sure if I want to keep it, but let's see. This one is now the Gangyang and downtown bus. It still goes around the areas in the usual pattern, but it now also includes a few larger loops which leave the town and go to different other areas, just making the entire thing a bit more versatile. Because it's kind of difficult with only being given 5 buses to also fully cover the rest of the areas. I also went into this area here at the Pyo-san fishing village, because these are some bus lines that, or just bus stops that are really hard to connect with any of the other stuff. If I go around here with Ollering or something like that, it's just stop and go in the towns, and that doesn't really fitting for that kind of setup. I'm still using the SV200s, of which I also now got a third one. But we'll have to see about that. This one right now is coming just from Gangyang Terminal, and it's already full, so I hope it's gonna be unloading people over here. Problem is, if I pick up a few people, maybe I pick up somebody over here or even at the terminal already, and they really need to go over into this area somewhere, they're just gonna be in the bus forever and not allowing me to pick up any more people. Right now that might be okay because this one is not completely full, so there would at least be space for another guy. My best guess is that likely a lot of people are gonna get off at the bus terminal over here, but I'm not entirely sure about that. There is no bus terminal in this area. The next one would be up here. I didn't want to go quite that far high. That's also well integrated into a few other bus lines, so Yeah, this was mainly about doing stuff around this area because otherwise I'm kinda neglecting it. And eventually I want to cover most, if not all of the bus stops. So right now that was the best idea I had in order to make that all work. Jeju is seeing a similar addition, but not quite to the extent. First up, I tried to make the entire thing here work out a bit better. Some of the lines were a bit awkward, especially when it came to the last few stops that I needed to connect to. I think I've done a better job with that in this attempt. But yeah, for the town itself, nothing has substantially changed. It's more like small additions to make some of the stuff work out a bit better. But I'm now also going over to Uedo and AWOL. Funnily enough, from what I've seen, the bus route right now suggests that in order to turn from this bus stop to this one, the bus would just take a loop around the entire area and then come back around here. I'm fine with that. It looks a bit weird, but okay. Actually, what happens is here in the middle there is a divider wall, and the bus just completely rams through that. Does a like 5-point turn on the ring road and then takes in the passengers from here. Also, since the bus doesn't continue down this direction, usually anybody who wants to get in from this side doesn't get the chance to. Despite it being a better idea to just go to Jeju bus terminal half the time and get a long distance bus from that end. But that's how the entire thing works right now. It's a bit weird. These things are all potentially subject to change. I'm not entirely sure about that. There are some things that I just want to try out, and they are not working too badly right now, at least. So much for the city connections. Now let's talk about the first intercity bus, and this is something, no, this one here. This is something that's basically making my C loop useless at this point. For the most part, it's just 3 different lines from Jeju bus terminal to Gangyang. First up going this direction, then maybe coming back on this one, going across the mountain, then doing the rest of the connections in the opposite direction, and it's basically just looping around, taking a rather straight shot for the most part from one of the major terminals to the other. Usually highly profitable, but also highly frequented. So this is one that, yeah, you gotta have something like this, and it's really helping out with traffic in a major way. I expanded it to go into this direction as well, just because of how many people there are usually in this area and also at the terminal over here. So that's a bit more of a side project there. Also potentially the problem again that people who want to go to this area might be clogging up the bus for a bit too long. So that's another thing that I might need to get rid of. And yeah, the last two bus lines here. I now have one dedicated line going just between Gappa and the Sanho oil refinery. So while this is a very long route, it has very few people on there. Sometimes somebody wants to go from the bus terminal to the refinery, and that's what the bus is gonna help out, but mainly it's just there to get people from the bus stops over here and bring them over to the terminal. Also, one thing I really don't like about this, but it's gonna change with the next update most likely anyways. The bus does not turn around here. It does not go into the refinery to turn around. It actually follows this windy road up to the turnaround point right here, and only then does it go back the other direction. That's a bit weird. That's a waste of time really, but okay. Now on to the one that I've been working on for the longest time. This is basically my own version of Ollering, going back and forth, but also including Gappa, because what I found after visiting the Gappa bus terminal, and I might as well show you guys just on spot here. Let's just go over here and just talk to some of the passengers there. They want to go all over the place. And that's a bit of a problem. This one is not really doing too well on dirt roads, especially not with rain and all of that. Oof. A slight bump, it's fine. If we talk to these people, yeah, this one just wants to go to Jeju.
Hello?
This one wants to go to Seonsang. I think that's the this terminal right here.
Hello.
This one wants to go to Gangyang. This one wants to go to Harlem. So that's all of the different terminals around the place. So the old route that I had, just going from Gappa over to Gangyang and then people going over to all of the other different locations with another bus. I don't think that's how it works. If you don't have a bus coming in here that gives them their, or at least one of their destinations that they are looking forward to, then nothing is gonna happen with them. So despite me not being the biggest fan of this, I decided to lay both my Olle Ring version and the bus down to Gappa together. And yeah, to not be even more inefficient with it, I decided to at least cut out the rest of the OD tour right here. This will become more useful once we get more stuff to do down here and more bus stops along the way. But yeah, right now this is kind of a painful state for everything to be in. So, I don't know. If I wanted to make this differently, I mean, I could just have an express route that just really goes to all of the different terminals and nothing in between, but it needs to go across the entire island, so that's not amazing. And if I was to cut out the other bus just going back and forth between all of these, or between the Jeju City and Gangyang through all of these different routes, then I could maybe have another bus just doing Olle Ring all the time, maybe both directions, to really cover all the bus stops. But I'm not entirely sure about it. Also, since I was going past it anyways, I was including all of the bus stops around Anson Island as well, but it seems like part of the pathfinding here is broken. I saw it multiple times that the AI bus would come down from the highway to this point and then turn around right before the road here, before the intersection. It is supposed to go left and then to one of the bus stops here. I've also seen it just drive past some of the bus stops that I think it should have taken. So some of the stuff was weird. Also going this direction down here, here's another bus stop on this side. It would just go to the wrong lane before it, past it and then try to turn around, and it was a complete mess. So right now, since there isn't really much of anything happening on Anson Island anyways, I just cut this out of my route anyways. If I had this included, right now with my setup, and that's the only good thing about it, there would be 4 bus stops that I'm not servicing right now. 2 of which would be here, one on this side, one on the other. The other 2 would be, I think, right around here, maybe over here somewhere. That's all the bus stops right now that none of my buses are getting towards, and I think that's kind of cool. That's helping out a lot. But this doesn't mean that the entire thing is flawless by any means. I think if I want to do active bus driving right now, I may need to do the whole intercity connection, going around the entire island and down to Gappa. Could be quite a fun route, but it's also not one of the most effective ones right now. But yeah, I've given up some of the things that would really help me doing my own bus driving and making a lot of money with that, in favor of it being a bit better if it just is left alone and does things just AFKing. Also, I'm now using my my cheetah bus that I got in the last episode, or that I got for the last episode, as an AI bus just for this entire mega route here. After all, everything else just would be way too low on capacity. And even that one, I don't know where it is right now. It's likely pretty full. We can see it 39 out of 49. And it just left Jeju. I don't want to go too deep on this entire thing. It does a weird thing by cutting over and through the island a few times. That's all working out for a reason, but I think that would be better off being talked about in another episode. But yeah, there are reasons on why I'm handling this stuff as it is right now, and I will have to see if it works out in the long run. One last thing I want to do today before we leave this off. I want to get another car. Because I talked about getting something as a speed taxi and stuff like that for a long time now. And I think it's about time we get to it. I don't want to buy everything on screen. I think that would be really restrictive on what I can do. But I also don't want to just exclude you guys from all of the purchases. So the one thing I want to buy today, been a long time coming, but today we get it running, is the Enfo GT. This would also be another candidate for my touring car class. This one actually has the 320 horsepower V8 in it, so that's the strongest V8 in the game right now. And it's all-wheel drive, exceptionally stable. I don't know if I want to go with V12 for this one, even just the V8 is pretty amazing, especially once you add the turbocharger. But this one will be my urgency taxi. So yeah, I just wanted to leave off the episode by showing you guys this beauty, and we're gonna put it into action in another episode. Soon enough, I hope. But yeah, there's still upgrades to apply, maybe a livery to make, and also stuff to figure out with the suspension. I definitely want to keep it off-road able at least, but I don't know how far I want to lean into that. We're gonna have to see about that, and let's just have a short stint off-road. It's a really uneven entry point there. And this also seems to be a pretty flat road, so nothing really too much to see, apart from me almost sinking it right into the ocean. Anyways, that's gonna be it from my end for this video. Thanks for watching, hope you have a good time, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.